Okay. Got it there. Press that. And we're live. The red button's on. We're on Facebook. We're live. For many of you that are watching Million Dollar Agent for the first time, we sometimes do a live stream. Other times you're listening to it on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. But this is officially the first Million Dollar Agent podcast for 2023. We have been doing this since 2013. That makes it a decade. Million Dollar Agent has been going for 10 years. Hey, gentlemen, welcome back.
Thanks. G'day, Troy. G'day, Tommy.
Hello.
Good to see everyone. 10 years. So well done. Pats on back for everyone because it's been a lot of fun. And Susan, of course, behind the scenes, doing awesome work as always. Susan, thank you for all your brilliant work. She is a professional cat herder. She gets us all together on one Zoom on a regular basis and does it beautifully. So thank you, Susan. A couple of things, Tommy. Real estate gym. A few people asked me about it, and just before we went on, you said you're live. You're going live soon. Do you want to give everyone an update on that one?
No, we went live. We know that a lot of people come back to work, over this period. So we actually opened it up again on Friday. So as I don't know what day of the week people are listening to this, but it is now open, and we've got membership intake for 2023. So go to realestategym.com.au. It works out to being $650 a year, or you can do it in monthly installments. But so one of the things that we've brought in this year is we've always had a prospecting blitz on a Tuesday where we get agents that get on the phone and prospect and make calls and try and get appointments or at least clean the database. But as of this year, starting tomorrow, we've got a script school as well, because we know that agents like to practice not on real life customers. So we've created an environment to do script school. So after our prospecting blitzes, we actually do scripts training. We come up with scripts and dialogues, and then we put them in their private chat rooms, 2 people at a time, and they practice. And then we go off and we're watching them practice, and then they come back. As Tom Hopkins used to say, practice, rehearse, drill. So looking forward to it. Real estate gym.
I just want to add to that 2 things. One is, before you go off the real estate gym, I'm just going to echo the words of Matt Steinway about a year ago. Said best $650 in real estate you could spend anywhere in Australasia. So that's from the GOAT. That's from the greatest of all time. Geez, I love his TikTok. You're doing great stuff too, Tommy. But Matt Steinway, his content is second to none, really.
I
love what he's here. He's good. He's at the gym. He's doing listings. Where he gets the time, I got no idea. That number 1. 2 is, Troy, I heard a good quote today, and I think it's going to be relevant. I didn't hear. I saw it on Twitter. It's going to be relevant, and it was a successful entrepreneur. Forgot who it is, and he said, "Plan of attack, more attack, less plan." And I think, Tommy, that's like, it's pretty good, isn't it? A lot of people sit there and say, "Oh, great, I'm going to listen to this, and then come up with great stuff. Then I'm going to think of some dialogue, and I'm going to practice it for a month." And like, just when you hear something today that you're not doing, or you should be doing better, or you've stopped doing, just start. Like, pick up the phone and start ringing tonight, or ring tomorrow morning. But less plan of attack, more attack, less plan. So just run with it.
I was going to say, very much like how we started this podcast some 10 years ago, just hit record was the mantra. We're still doing that right now. It's exactly the same. For anyone that's thinking about doing something, has thought about it over the break, now is the best time to implement stuff. You've got less on your plate. You're a little bit more open to trying new things. It's January. What a great time to start. The next call, make a difference.
So
very, very good.
One of the most profound things, so I did a lot of work at News Corp with Boston Consulting. So News Corp would bring Boston Consulting in, and they had this intelligent English guy that I'd met once there, and he said, look, they used to do my head in because they're very much into spreadsheets and always PowerPoint presentations. But this English guy, I can't remember his name, but he said, "Tom, listen, don't stress too much about working out the plan completely and being comfortable in your head." And the reason why, as the more you go into it, the more you'll realize that the first plan was never going to work out anyway, right? Because what's actually happening is, as you're doing things, things come up and you learn that, and then you'll do this. So he goes, don't worry. And I think, John, you've said, never let perfect get in the way of better. 80% of winning
Yeah.
is beginning. Just start, because you'll be getting feedback which will change the direction of where you're going anyway. So you don't have to stress to think it's got to be perfect at the start, you know?
Yeah, exactly. The best way to review or to refine is a better word. What you're doing is get it in the market, whether it's a listing dialogue, whether it's a prospecting activity, whether it's a social media thing. Don't sweat over it too much. Just say, okay, pop $200, boost it, and see if we get any responses. You know, don't sit there and debate it on a wall for a month working out which one of those 6 is better. Just put $100 behind all 6, see which ones come back. So I think we're going to start, Tommy, with saying to people, let's just give them a quick refresher on what I think a lot of your clients and your gym members have been sort of saying to you. These are the prospecting activities that work best for me. And then Troy and I are going to complement that, because we obviously talk to them, predominantly the McGrath people, on a daily basis, and we can certainly talk about what's working for them. So we should kick off, what are the top 8, 10 things to be doing?
Okay. Inspired by gym members that are doing 100 sales a year and more, when they're questioned and asked on surveys or even anecdotally, where do you get your leads to do listing presentations for properties that actually come onto the market? So where do you get your high immediate sellers coming from? And I'll just read, there's about 10 or so. CMA nurturing, one that we know. These are people that you've already got in Agent Box or Vault or wherever you have your clients in, and this ongoing, whether it's phone calls, SMSs, emails that are going out. It's just nurturing people that you have already met. And we know that that's a big one, and that's why we know we've always got this obsession that you should keep the conversation going and keep making those phone calls. So surely, gentlemen, that's your best people must be nurturers, I would presume so.
Well, so many people, they work hard to get someone to ring the phone, Tommy, and then they do an appraisal, and the client says, I really like it, but I actually think it's going to be, we're going to just wait and see what happens to the market. And that in times of uncertainty like now in Australasia, that's probably quite a common conversation with vendors, but things can change on a dime. All of a sudden they can find the perfect home. They can start getting a feeling of positive sense. Someone can tell them, as we were just talking about, gee, we heard Pete Chauncey had 75 groups through one of his opens on the weekend. People say, gee, honey, maybe we should get on the market now, which, by the way, is a real case study and probably a really good thing to be talking to clients about. There seems to have been a rush of adrenaline and interest from buyers as we speak. But a lot of people, if someone doesn't sign here and now and they do the follow-up call, they kind of drop them. And then they're driving past 3 months later and they see one of their competitors' boards, and you think, man, you got to. So once you've established they've gone through the funnel, and we're going to talk about the various ways to get them into the funnel, you must make sure that in part of your ideal week, and your daily ritual, more than likely, is following up people that you have spoken to in the past. Because even when they say, I'm not selling till later in the year, and you don't harass them every time and say, why don't you sell now? Why don't you sell now? You've got to respect the feedback they've given you. But the conversation, Tommy, might be, Tom and Sula, I just want to let you know that we're really astounded. We had 75 groups through one of my colleagues' properties in Narrabeen on the weekend. And really, we weren't as we were knocked over with the way the amount of interest that's come. So I just want to let you know about that. I know you mentioned you're probably going to sell later in the year, which is totally fine, but just in case you wanted to kind of strike while the iron's hot, I thought I'd just let you know. So it's kind of a soft update around the call. So number one is CMA. I think the second one, Tommy, and you said before it was open homes, which I agree.
Yeah.
Buyer servicing in general, whether it's open home or one-on-one. And the other thing is for agents that do on-site auctions. I mean, I know the three of us are all great believers in on-site auctions. There's not a better way to meet the community than taking your wares and your service skills and your team out every Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning and doing an on-site auction. So I think, my statistics over a long time, Tom, has been basically 20% of people coming to your opens are also about to sell. They're either on the market, they're looking at choosing an agent, or they're going to be choosing an agent short term. So they're actually shopping for agents and looking at property. So buyer servicing, open for inspections, and on-site auctions. I'll add that one. Back to you, Tommy.
I was going to say, John, just before we move on, Tom, two things. The one about nurturing that we were talking about earlier. One thing, John, that I just want to amplify that you mentioned is the value add that you provide. So each one of the clients that you go out and you perform that CMA, you follow them up and they say, listen, we're probably 6 months away, to be consciously looking at ways to add value to help them make the right decision. Now, that right decision may still be in 6 months' time, but you're letting them know about a sale. You're letting them know about a listing. You're letting them know about those numbers that have gone through open for inspections. And I think that's a really important thing, not to just be ringing up and saying, it's been another month, is it time to sell? You've got to be providing a narrative and a story to help them make that decision.
Agreed.
Second thing, John, the on-site auctions, and I know that a lot of the most successful agents are doing this, but I want to amplify it again to everyone on this call, is a lot of the time at open for inspection, because you have a lot of numbers, the fall away from taking names and numbers as people are walking through the property before the open for inspection is really high. As you just said, that's the biggest and the most amazing opportunity to create community awareness. You should have someone dedicated, names and numbers, making sure that as they're leaving, you're giving them information to help them in the future choose you as the agent of choice. Just those two things, they popped up in my mind as you mentioned, John, so I couldn't move on until we discuss them.
I'm glad
So I did it.
So you can move on. That's very good. No, I agree.
So
very true.
I did. So I did an auction on. I'm actually working out of Byron this week, and I did an auction for Koloshi in the Byron hinterland yesterday. And what was really interesting, it's a Sunday morning, property 30, 40 hectares, and there's a bit of a crowd there. And one of the agents said to me, Tom, we've brought a lot of our potential vendors here, right? And I said, he goes, yeah, intentionally, we get them to come here, because don't underestimate the power you have of sending a strong message. If you know that the property is going to sell, and I think they had told the vendors, the prospective vendors, if we got 3-2, 3-3, that would be a great result. And the property ended up selling for 3,625. So these vendors that are watching it are seeing a result that's gone for 200 or 300 more than they were anticipating it was going to get. So whether it's online, having potential vendors online, or actually encouraging your potential vendors to come to your auctions, is a very useful play to show them what you're all about,
That's right, Tommy. I mean, just think about it. You've got a red hot auction on the weekend. You've got 12 registered bidders. Why would you not do a 5,000 blanket drop DL cards, mail cards, plus go to Realtair or whoever you use as an auction live streaming? Let the world then go to your CMA group that we've just been talking about, Troy. Send a direct link via text preferable to email, I would say, because more people are getting their text messages more frequently. And just say, we've got an interesting auction tomorrow. Thought you might like to have a peek at what's happening in the market first up. Tune in here, and then send a reminder, 2 minutes before. Really, and nowadays there is no excuse to leverage good results. Next one, influencers and networking was the next one you guys came up with, Tommy.
Yeah, so I can't help the amount of agents that say to me they get referrals from people. Strangely, sometimes they don't actually even do business for these people, but they get referrals of these people. And a term that they often use is breaking bread with shot callers. So a shot caller, it's someone that's got influence. It's someone that people sort of ask opinions on real estate from. It could be an accountant. It's often a solicitor. Sometimes it's a mortgage broker. Sometimes it's a buyer's agent. Sometimes it's a guy that's a bit of a builder, a small-time developer. But these people have got the ear of the community. And what, like Marcus Chiminello had summed it up best when I said to him once, how big is your database? He said 3,000 people, but 6 matter the most. Yeah. And I said to him, why is that? He goes, well, it's these 6 people that seem to be stemming all the work that I seem to get year in, year out. It's people that have influence there. So it's this concept of fat database versus fit database, but this concept of understanding that not every client is of equal value in a CRM system. And I don't say that to actually in any way dilute the value of an individual, but there are people sitting in your database that may never do work with you. There are people in your database that might not even be alive. That's the truth of the matter. Is so what I'm saying is you can't make the assumption that you should spend your time equally to all people in that CRM system. Some people need a lot of breaking bread and, you know, lunches and breakfasts and coffees.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, imagine, look at this one, Troy. You've got a good relationship with a financial advisor and accountant. He or she has 2,000 clients. All those clients probably own homes, probably have an investment, and will be 6% of them will be selling next year. So, you know, again, why wouldn't you nurture that relationship, do some reciprocal marketing where you can introduce customers back and forth? Could be a conveyancing company, could be an accountancy firm. You know, there's a whole range of ways of doing it. But just, I guess the bottom line is make sure you have extremely good relationships with the people who have got the best propensity and opportunity to send you business. The next one is direct mail. So this could be, Tommy, mail cards, or are we talking exclusively sending a letter, for example, addressed to the client? What was the feedback your clients gave you?
Yeah. So look, whether it's a letterbox drop, whether it's a personally addressed letter, whether it's a just listed or just sold piece of content, whether it's the stuff, look, I'm in the core area of one of your agents, Michael Tringali, who's got a very high market share in that Haberfield area. And he uses a drop that has got information of lots of properties in the area that have sold with the prices and the photo. And I find that extremely useful, that on a quarterly basis or every 6 months, I don't know his frequency, but I get something that I'm able to look at the front of the house. I'm able to look at the address. It tells me what it sells for. It's not a lasagna recipe. It's not some, you know, it's basically what he specializes in, which is property in my core area. I don't think letterbox drops or traditional media is dead. I think it works in combination. I think if people are seeing your signboard and they're seeing if you own the letterbox and then you're owning social media and then you're owning realestate.com, I think it sends a strong message that, hey, we got to get this agent in. They seem to be everywhere. And great agents that get talked about all the time. Great agents are normally spoken about by the community in coffee shops, and when people are dropping their kids off at school or at footy practice, great agents are being talked about by the community all the time.
Yeah. Next one is, Troy, success marketing, which can also, I think, let's bring in the concept of hotspotting, Troy, because we found with our top agents. So success marketing is anything you can do to alert a community to a recent sale, or could be listing. So again, Tommy, could be letter, could be email, can even be nowadays social media. You can actually geographically target very, very, very tight geographical areas as well. Hotspotting, you know, is really generally a phone call or a door knock. So Tom and Sula, just wanted to give you an update. We sold a property in Kingston around the corner, number 34. You might have seen the board, went to auction. We thought it would go for about 3.5, 3.6. It ended up going at 4 million on auction, you know, $500,000 above reserve. We're really delighted. Just as a courtesy, wanted to let you know. And by the way, it's early in the year. Just thought we'd check whether you guys are thinking of making any purchases or any sales of real estate this year, so we could start a conversation. Simple dialogue, targeted, giving them relevant information, and a gentle request at the end. Just thought we'd check in because it's the beginning of the year, so if you think of doing anything. And Troy, I think of our top 25 agents who are extraordinary agents, hotspotting would rank very highly for them. It's that personal call, Troy. It's that
Definitely
direct information. Yes.
John, within the top three of every single one of their prospecting and future business strategies, the other thing that they're doing is they've got a huge amount of speed to market with that strategy. So anything that's done with success marketing, speed to market is by far the most important. If the auction's on Saturday morning at 10:15, they're out there in the afternoon making sure that every single person that's hotspotted knows that that information's there. It's a social media tile. As soon as the auction's finished, it's already prepared. They're sending it out. So it's a really important part of their success marketing strategy is the speed to market.
Yeah, that's true because, Tom, I was looking, I didn't end up bidding on it, but I was sort of half interested in a site in Concord, 850 square metres on the golf course. And they were quoting $4.5 to $5 million. For me, it was land value. It wasn't the sort of house that I was interested in, but decided for a few reasons against it and drove past it about 2 hours after the auction. Couldn't see anything, went online trying to find out whatever. Eventually found out this afternoon it went for a tad over 5 million. But you're right, Troy, if there's some way of someone that is thinking of selling, they'll want to know that result. So get it on your website, get it on REA, a social tile would be brilliant. And the next morning, I mean, you can't have a DL flyer out the same day, but if you can the next morning, you have it all ready to go, just stamp the price on it and then letterbox around 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 if you like. You're bound to get inquiries off that. You are bound to get inquiries. So that I'd call that targeted. Good. That's around quality. Yep. You can letterbox 10,000 telling them how good you are, or you can give 1,000 people a result that was a good result, and you're going to get a better result from the 1,000, I think.
Just extending on what you've said, the great agents now are pretty sophisticated at being able to collect the data on auctions in their core area on a Saturday and then arming their lead agent. Often it's the associates that do it, and then arming their lead agent by around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon to be calling people in their pipeline to say, we thought it'd be useful for you to know that today there was 4 auctions in our area. I'd like to go over those prices. It's just so much better to be the source of information than having the Herald or the Telegraph be the source on the Sunday, right? The source, being the source of the information makes you the expert in 2023. I think if you're seen as the source, it doesn't matter whether you made the sales or not. If you're seen as the reporter, as Seth Godin says, if you start looking at the people in your database as students and not as prospects, and that your job is there to go educate them, you'll find that the whole experience is much more enjoyable for both parties,
That was one of the best lines I thought in Eric when he said that. It was like, whoa, just the shift in paradigm. Don't see them as clients, see them as students, and your job is to educate them. 2 to go, although kind of 1.5 because we've touched on one already. One was social, and I think we've talked about that. And nowadays, there are some great suppliers out there with social. They do terrific work. So make sure you jump into a relationship with someone who really knows how to help you. And I think it's far better if you use an expert, although it'll cost you a bit, Tom. I think that, nowadays some of these guys have got expertise. And now, by the way, I know a lot of people that boost once a week and they seem to get some results. But I suspect if you're a bit of a Luddite like me, you're probably better just to pay someone a monthly retainer and let them handle it for you. But social media nowadays helps you target very much.
I was very fascinated to hear Gary Vaynerchuk say this week that he believes he's always predicting what in social is going to give you great return of investment. And now he's claiming Facebook Reels are giving great mileage. Facebook Reels. So Facebook had not been the flavor of the month for a long time. And, Troy, what it's like, it's a bit, you'll find, and I find it as a user, and I think all our listeners would understand, there are various times when you get so much more audience for your posts, and then they tighten things up. And then what happens is one of the platforms feels like, hey, we want to give people a big push. And Insta Reels have actually been going on very, very well. TikTok Absolutely, younger audience, but now Facebook Reels are not to be underestimated. They've got a lot of the characteristics of TikTok, but the audience is an older audience.
Yeah.
So it's vertical video.
Lucky
What's the last one?
Lucky last, Tori and Tom, is sponsorships. And I'm just going to say it's pretty self-explanatory, but some people have checkbook sponsorship, which means they just write a check for $5,000 and get their name on a jersey or on a school pamphlet on prize day or something. My experience in the past has always been support, ideally, a community, and we're talking often sporting type, cricket clubs and rugby clubs and netball clubs and so forth, but support something, or schools, where you can actually participate and play a role. There's nothing like being on the sausage sizzle on a Sunday morning at a netball or rugby competition. Those conversations at the sausage sizzle or on the sidelines are likely to be far more valuable than just popping your logo. Although logos on jerseys and newsletters are good, but I think, Troy, fair to say that if you really want to get the listings, you've actually got to be amongst it, be amongst them, be seen as part of their community, not just a distant sponsor. And it's fun, that's why I say to people, choose community and network events and teams and so forth that you're genuinely interested in, because you should play more of a role than just writing a check out once a year.
It's a lot easier when you're passionate about the thing that you're sponsoring or supporting, or the charity organisation that you're involved with, John, as opposed to, like you just said, cutting the check.
Yeah. So Tommy, that's the last. I don't know how many there was, but it sounded like enough for people to go out and generate a lot of listing leads.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, because it's going to save me having to reply to a lot of so at this time of the year, a lot of people are doing also their personal development plans, and we'd love to be part of your personal development plan, jumping on each week on our podcast. But we know that for many people, their big annual conference of the year, their big getaway for the year, their big let's get the team together, bit of bonding, lots of education is ARIC, and I know that a lot of people have started already sending messages to both Tred and to me. I want to just confirm the dates for ARIC is the 27th and the 28th of May. Sorry, 28th of May and 29th of May. Sorry, Sunday, Monday. 28th of May. I'm looking at it in my diary because I've got to make sure that I'm there on the Saturday. So 28th of May and the 29th of May. Organise your flights. It's going to be a massive. We're going to be releasing the speakers slowly over the next month, but rest assured, we're doing our best to have the best real estate conference ever in the world. Some of the names that we're talking about are people that I think John and Troy are the best of the best.
The best we've ever had. Yeah. I think so, and we're just we're not trying to be cute by keeping them back, but we're just waiting on written confirmation from several, because we couldn't think of anything worse than announcing a speaker and then all of a sudden there's some technical issue, they can't make it. So yeah, we'll get those out, but I think the nice thing is we're already getting a lot of advanced bookings, because people trust the event, they trust the organisation, and they trust that each year it gets a bit better and better. So we look forward to seeing you all there, and we will be back. We'll all be together. We've promised you guys we're doing some changes, but Tommy, you're still operating on the north coast of New South Wales. So once you are back, we're going to be bringing some new interesting stuff together when we're all in the same room.
All righty. To all our listeners, to all our viewers, we wish you a super 23, both on and off the court, business and in your personal life. Troy and John, look forward to being your co-pilot for another 12 months. And let's see if we can get another decade behind us. Make it a 20-year podcast. All righty.
See you guys. Bye.
Signing off.